Can I get out in front of something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when we were doing the show on HQ before, I said if BYU went 3-0 to start the season, I was going to personally start the campaign that they should represent. They should play the Pac-12 South. They're the division winner of the Pac-12 South. But looking at the schedule, they have a real opportunity before them to kind of rattle, and when we look at Cincinnati, we're like, they play 2 Power 5 teams. Indiana, you got to have Indiana be better. BYU, with what they've done already in beating Utah and Arizona State, Arizona's kind of one no one thought that was going to happen. They still have Boise State on their schedule. They still have Baylor on their schedule from the Big 12. They have Washington State. They have Virginia. And then they finish off the season. I don't think it's crazy to think they could be undefeated with the road game against USC, the last game of the year, which would you talk about putting your stamp on a resume. I don't think it's that crazy to think that could happen.
I do.
From what we've seen with some of these teams. Who's going to get them? Virginia?
I think
Bronco Mendenhall Bowl, the Bronco Bowl.
I think they'll lose 2 to 3 games. I think they finish
probably
9-3
will.
or 10-2. This is a BYU team because the reason I had that Alabama stat earlier about just like a surprising team to find outside the top 50 in yards per play offense and yards per play defense, BYU's outside the top 80. Like it's one of these teams that has, like, you do give the Cougars so much credit for being able to figure out ways to win games. You get high leverage moments of the games. You're the one that come out on top. Like, that is something that we do want to see out of good teams, but it's also having me, I'm getting a disconnect from jumping on the story of what this BYU team has done, beating 3 straight Pac-12 South opponents after we spent all offseason saying like, all right, BYU, you wait. Yeah. You wait until you have to start playing all these power conference teams. Then you're not going to look like such a darling. I think that it's been a great start to the season, and I think that BYU is better than I thought, but I still think this is like a top 30, top 40 kind of team so far that's probably going to finish 9-3.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, they're well coached, they play physical, and they're a good football team. I don't think they're the 15th best team in the country or wherever they're ranked right now, but they deserve to be there based on what they've done so far. But I mean, if we look at it, like I've talked about it, they beat Arizona. I think Arizona's terrible. They beat Utah, which seemed impressive at the time, but then Utah went and lost to San Diego State. So now I'm kind of questioning how good Utah is. And Arizona State, I've always felt is like a 7-5 team anyway. So I think that BYU's gone out, it's beaten the teams it's supposed to beat. I think it's capable of beating a lot of those teams that you mentioned are still on its schedule. But I still, when I watch that team play, it's hard for me to think they're getting to 10 wins.
I agree with that. You mentioned Utah, by the way. They finally benched Brewer.
Yeah.
And spring game was very long ago.
Man, that's 15-15, the spring game.
Is it Rising?
Every day now.
Cameron Rising, right?
Yeah, it's Cam Rising, who was
through 3 touchdowns after
signed. He was an Oklahoma kid or a Texas kid? I'm trying to remember.
Where was he at?
I think it was Texas.
He was an OU legacy who signed with Texas. He's got some talent. Like it's not like they're going to somebody who has no arm or anything. Like he played pretty damn well for them in the final 10-15 minutes of that game and led them back to overtime because Utah was pretty cooked before that. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll turn that around. We'll see. BYU was outgained by Arizona State by a full yard per play at home. That's not really a great sign there. Passing wise, 50%. That's not great. I'm not saying they're smoke and mirrors. They're a lot better than I thought they were. I don't think there's a serious risk they go undefeated.